Wasn't anything interesting.
No. This is what I can't see. What's up here?
It says it's in
It
progress.
says it's recording. Don't show this again. Okay.
Okay, good. I've got that out of
The
there.
lights are all or nothing, right? Not like front, back.
Oh, yeah, let me,
There's only one switch, so.
here's Dan. Good. You know, if there's enough small talk, everybody arrives. And
That's right.
too late to start. Okay, good. Welcome, everyone. We are starting our April meeting of the Dryden Rail Task Force at about 7:05, and we'll start with introductions, and then we'll go right into a presentation from Charlie Troutman and Max Edward from the Cornell engineering class that's working on the washout at repair to the washout in the NYSEG section. Can everybody hear me okay in Zoom land? Good. Okay, I'll start. I'm Alice Green, and these days I'm calling myself chair of the task force.
We call you that.
I'm passing it to Steve.
Steve Wayans, I live in Dryden. I'm a member of the task force.
Great.
Sue Funicelli, I live in Varna, Dryden, and I'm a member of the task force.
Chip, I live in Freeville, and I guess I'm a member of the task force. Member at large, I guess.
Definitely a friend of the task force, no question.
Susan Ashdown, live in Varna, and I'm on the task force.
Great. And
I'm Marion Glenn. I live outside of Freeville, but my mailbox is Freeville. So I guess it's Dryden. I'm here because I met people at the Dryden Community Fair. And so I decided that I wanted to come and learn more about what's happening. And my big interest is planting mini forests. So if you give me 2 minutes, I'll explain what that is later in the show.
great, okay.
I'm Julian. I live in Ellis Holland, pretty close to Varna. I'm from Ithaca High School, so I'm see what it's like.
Good, good, thank you.
Welcome.
And
Hi, I'm Anna Marie. I'm from TC3. I'm just here to figure out what's going on.
we hope you'll figure out a little bit. Let's see.
I'm Charlie Troutman. I'm a volunteer at the Cornell Botanic Gardens and trails there with Todd, and he got me involved in seeing if my engineering class might be able to help a bit with this washout problem. So glad to be here.
Thank you, Max.
Hello, I'm Max Edward. I'm a fourth year civil engineering student. I'm part of the class that's supposed to be figuring out what to do with this washout.
That's great. And let's see, I see Chris and maybe Diane's with you.
Yeah, I'm Chris Tissalia-Himes, live in Etna, member of the Dryden Rail Trail Task Force. And Diane, I don't know if you can see her.
Hi, I'm Diane. I'm live in Etna with Chris, and I'm a member of the task force as well.
Thank you. And Gwen?
I'm Gwen Beck. I live in Dryden, but I have a Freeville mailing address too, and I'm a member of the task force.
Thank you. And Judy?
Hi, I'm Judy Pierpont. I'm on the task force. I have a Freeville mailing address, but I live on Mount Pleasant.
Okay.
Dryden.
Yeah.
And hi, everyone. I'm Dan Lamb. I'm Deputy Supervisor, Town of Dryden. I'm really glad to see such a nice turnout tonight. Welcome, everyone.
Good, thank you. Yeah, and for those who didn't hear, Todd Bittner and Rose Borzik are traveling after Easter time and not going to be joining us. So I think we're all.
Tony
And,
Brescher.
oh, Tony Brescher is Tony and Janice are also traveling at this time. So thank you, I forgot. So I think everybody who's here is here. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to just really turn it over now to Max and to Charlie to talk to us about what they've been working on. you want to come over here?
Yeah.
These slides, so.
Just a little bit of a warm up here. So I think we met, I met with many of you in February, right?
Yes.
Okay, just to get a few things out on the table. The class has been working hard on this. It's been a lot of work. Yeah, and many of our students have a big professional engineering test tomorrow. So yeah, they've all been focusing on that. But anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Max here, and he'll give you an update on what we've been doing, and then we'll collectively answer any questions that you have.
Right. Okay, so I'm gonna start off. I already said my name is Max Edward. We're gonna be presenting, talking about the Dryden Rail Trail Task Force over at Cornell, what my class has been doing so far and throughout the semester. Space bar is not working. Okay, so the agenda, what we're doing today, we're gonna be talking about what we've done, what we're doing currently, and what we're planning to do in the future. So this is sort of an overview of what the site looks like, and it's kind of a bird's eye view of what's going on. From there, you can see that there's the it's marked soil redistribution, and that's kind of the trail. And what we're planning to do is to set up a bridge to like kind of get over and through the washout. And we're going to use the area marked redistribution to move all of the excavated soil onto that area. So recently we found out through Todd Bittner that there's an area on this trail where there's like, it's a bit wider on one part of it, and that's good for our project because it allows us for us to have more area to cover and more soil to be redistributed without like going longer on the span of the trail. So this is sort of another, this is a model of what the area looks like. From here, you can see that we have marked on the left side, the 1/12 slope. This was really important in like clarifying as prior we tried to do a 1/20 slope, but we would have run into a NYSEG power line, which would have been pretty expensive to deal with. And luckily, we're allowed to work with 1/12, which is going to save a lot of money, a lot of time.
Okay.
And also at the top, you see that it's marked the spoils from the bridge excavation. And the spoils is essentially what I was talking about earlier with the soil that's going to get removed in the process of excavating that 1/12 slope is going to get moved back over there. So this is sort of a cross-sectional view of what's going to be going on. The left side, you can see the 1/12 slope, right side, the same thing. And the plan is for us to kind of excavate the left side or the west foundation, the west side of the washout, and we're going to be able to install the foundation on that side over there. And from there, we're going to be using like the new ground that we have set up to get a backhoe and kind of reach over to the other side and dig out enough soil to be able to install the other foundation. And from there, we're going to set up the steel beams that are going to go across in a deck so that we can get the other side to be an even 1/12 as well. Also, you can see the fiber optic cable marked and how the 1/12 slope is just barely letting us like not have to deal with that situation. This is just a picture of the backhoe, and you can see how like despite the slope that it's on, it's able to kind of reach over and grab the soil. And that's essentially what we're going to be using when we get to that part of the project. This is a picture of kind of what we got dealt when we showed up to the site in February, I think it was. Kind of slippery, everyone has to wear boots, freezing cold. You can see the steep slope on the other side. It's just as steep on that side. If you slip, it's gonna be a bad fall. Yeah. And from here, you can see the kind of the steel design that we have set up. It's gonna be 3 beams going across, which are gonna reach through the washout. And below these are gonna be the foundations that I mentioned earlier that we're gonna set up. So the details of this don't really matter for this part of the project. NYSEG communications, I want to start off by saying kind of been like I've heard a lot about how hard they are with response times, and I've experienced it. I live in Ithaca, so I have to deal with it myself. So the trail license agreement, obviously, it gives us the authority to work over the project. I personally am not from Dryden, but I'm able to work under the task force through the town's authority. And currently, we're waiting on finalized engineering site drawings to get to NICEAG, so that we get some form of official permission to work on the land. From what I've heard to Todd, they're not going to say like a yes or no. They're going to more like see that we build something and then evaluate what we built, and if they want it gone, then it's kind of what I heard from him. But here's the site modeling. It's just a slightly more in-depth look into what's going on with the foundations. This is just kind of what they sent me regarding that. Permitting, this is kind of really important. We're gonna start off with the general permit, where it's a federal permit, which essentially gives us permission to work in the area in a wetland. And so we have to stay within 1/10 acre of wetland disturbance. And right now we're projected to only have 1/20, and 1/20 is less than 1/10, so it's a good thing. So next, the nationwide permit 14. This one, we believe that we have the conditions met, but just to be sure, we sent in documentation, and they have to get back to us in 90 days. And 90 days is a lot of time. So instead, we're gonna send in like the full-on application, and we're planning to do that sometime by the end of the semester. The details don't matter that much. And what we're currently working on right now, we have started with the concrete foundation forms. I personally went in last week and got my hands dirty with working with the wood and cutting up stuff. Next, another thing we're working on right now, as I mentioned earlier, with the DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation permit application. They take a while to get back. It's kind of slowing things down. Right now, we're also finalizing bridge structural design drawings. And I mean, from what I've heard, it's basically finished. They're just doing the final calculations, talking to professors, making sure everything's good. And we're also working on the engineering site plan and a semester report. And that's kind of important because most of us are going to be graduating this semester or next semester. Personally, it's next semester. But we need the group that comes in after us to not have to start from zero, and we need them to be able to pick up what we've worked on so far. So for next fall, we're planning on designing the deck and railings, the trail surface design. We're going to complete earthwork, and that's going to be really important to be in contact with Rick Young, as well as build the foundations and install steel. And next spring, we're looking to finish this project with constructing the deck and railings, the surface trail from Pinckney Road to the bridge. Any questions?
Nice, Max, thank you. That's great. Questions from folks?
So are you one of the ones graduating?
I'm graduating next semester.
Oh, okay. So
But
you're working on it.
Are you wondering if it's a new class? It's a brand new class of students who will be coming in fall semester and picking up on the work that you said?
Yeah,
you
essentially,
started?
I believe most of the people who are taking this course are going to be either juniors or seniors, and they won't have much experience with this class. But I mean, I'm going to be on campus next semester,
Good.
so I'll be able to fill them in if need be.
That's what I was wondering, if there was a transition.
Yeah, so maybe I should jump in here. So part of the problem for me is that I have a fellowship. I'm going to Germany in June, and I'm there through the end of Oktoberfest. Into early October. So yeah, there's no connection between the
Not at all.
but the semester starts in late August, so I won't be here for probably the first 6 weeks or so of the semester. So I don't know if I'm gonna teach the course next semester or not. I will teach it again next spring, and that's when we want to finish up the project. But the fall is really not that heavy a load. Well, it's a heavy load. We got to pour concrete and put steel in. But most of that's all being designed now. And Rick Young from Public Works here in Dryden is going to help us with doing the earthwork. And the students are really not going to be directing that. That will be Rick and his crew. Pouring concrete again is, they're producing the formwork right now at Cornell, and it'll be in knockdown form. So we just put it on a trailer, bring it over to the site, pop it up, and we can pour concrete, okay? So again, not that much of a load for people to do in a course. So I'm thinking that probably the next thing we'll do is have the course again next spring, and that's when we'll actually build the rest of the bridge.
Okay.
But we will be making progress in the fall through the Public Works Department and probably a few volunteers.
So can the transit mixer come in from just one side and reach across and do both forms?
Okay, so question is that how does a concrete truck get concrete to the east foundation? You want to go back to that slide just so everybody can be clear what we're talking about? One before that. Yeah, that one. Oops. Yeah, go one ahead. Okay, so Pinckney Road is off to the left there on this little cartoon. And we can pour the west foundation very easily. The truck can just dump. But the east foundation, what we'll probably need is one of those big elephant's trunk pumper trucks. And it can easily reach over that far. The bridge itself is about 35 feet long, those beams. So they can reach over there with that. We'll have to get the forms over there, but they're just pieces of plywood. They're not too bad. Okay.
So did you say you've been working on creating those forms? They're going to be ready by the end of this semester, you're thinking?
Yeah, that's
that's cool.
Yeah, this weekend we're having a big construction weekend.
Okay.
Okay. So
And the
next
forms are the main.
What?
The forms are the main.
Yeah, thing we're doing
goal
at this
to
point.
finish it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to form all of those T-shaped structures.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're 14 feet into the screen. Like if you were looking down that way, they would be 14 feet long and have that as their cross section.
Okay.
Charlie, I've got a question about the steel sections, about how what's the width of the bridge?
So the width of the bridge, once the deck is on it, will be 10 feet. And a typical dump truck, which needs to cross this bridge to get gravel to surface the trail on the other side, they're about 8.5 feet. So the idea is that a dump truck will easily be able to cross the bridge. They'll have to go slowly. They're not going to go across it at 35 miles an hour. But for this very short stretch, they'll be going, inching their way across. And the bridge has to hold up 10 tons. So it's not a footbridge. That's why we're using very heavy steel beams to support the bridge.
And so is the decking is 10 feet wide? Where is the north and south beam pieces? Like what's the width of those main support beams?
Where do they sit within the 10 feet?
Yeah.
Oh, you're getting into some structural design now. Okay. Yeah, they'll be about a foot and a half in from the edge.
Okay.
And there'll be one central beam. The deck itself will be 4x6 timbers. So they're pretty heavy duty timbers.
Yeah.
And the wheels, there's not a lot of play side to side, right? Because, a truck just can't go very much to one side before they're going to run into the railing. And they also have double wheels, right? So
Yeah.
we're designing the bridge so that the wheels of the dump truck will be over
Steel.
one of the steel beams on the side. Okay,
Good. And railing material will be,
so question was, what will the railings look like? And that's a very good question because that will really change the aesthetics of the bridge depending on what the railing looks like. And if you look at some of the railings on the other bridges between, say, Cornell, Game Farm Road maybe, and Route 366. So that section of the trail in there, there were 3 bridges built on top of old railroad trestles, okay? And the railings there are pretty simple. They're just, 2x6s. We'll probably try to do something a little bit more beautiful. I don't know. And it could be that we do cable railings, stainless steel cables. Many cables. That's a sort of a nice way that allows you to look through it easily at the water and the wetland below. So that's one possibility. But before we go building anything, we're going to talk to all of you and show you some concepts so that you're going to be happy with what we end up with. Okay?
that's great.
Does that answer your question?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, like that's Fox Hollow,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was the actual like trestle over them, so that's even bigger and more robust, but yeah. So that was all wood and steel uprights.
That can be totally fine. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to do railings.
Yeah.
I think the other 2 are.
But it's beautiful wetland to be able to look at, so I
Exactly.
love the idea of the
Yeah.
cables,
Yeah,
that I
Yeah.
just would allow a little more of a view.
So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the bridge at Flat Rock, on the corner, just on the edge of Cornell campus. So it's on Forest Home Drive. If you were to drive 366 towards, or Route 13 towards, Ithaca, get off on 366, get off on Forest Home Drive. It takes you into the Cornell Wildflower Garden. Some of you from that area will know that. And that's a bridge we did 2 years ago. And it could give you one option, like what we did there, 4x4 uprights with steel fins, aircraft cables, and they have to be spaced close enough that a child can't put their head through.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a 3-inch spacing on those, but they're quite thin and quite, I think it looks nice. So that would be, we'll show you pictures when we get to that point.
Okay.
Could you back the slides up a little bit? There was something on one of them that I had a question about. Yeah, that one.
This one? Okay.
Yeah, that one. The NICEAG ramp for transmission line maintenance. What is that?
So do you want to talk about that or?
I have no idea. what
Okay,
it is,
so
I guess.
they built a ramp down there 2 years ago so that they could access those power line poles.
Okay.
And it basically just, they bulldozed some of the embankment.
Into the wetland?
It's we are in the process of asking them, I'm probably going to send this off later this week, a letter to request their permit application to see if they actually got one.
Yeah.
But they just bulldozed a bunch of the embankment off so that they have a ramp going down. It's about 16 feet from the top of the embankment to the water level.
Okay.
And they need to, and their poles, we didn't put them in just to make it not too complicated here. But there are poles basically at the top and the bottom of that orange dashed line. And they need to occasionally get in there and do work on their power line. So I don't know how they do it. We don't ask any questions here, but there is that ramp.
So right now the ramp is lower than, because the gray is what you're gonna build up, right?
So the gray there is what is going to be excavated. The dark gray ramp, that's just,
Okay.
it's a cartoon again. It
Yeah.
just shows where they bulldozed down to
Okay.
get from the top down to the
Right.
water.
But when you build, when you fill in, that's gonna raise that one end of it, right? One of where the ramp is, from where the ramp is now.
Well, we wanna have just a 1 in 12 slope
Right.
from,
Yeah, so ultimately it's gonna dip down, hit bridge level and then come back up. So that gray extruded trapezoid is gonna be gone.
Oh,
Where does it go? Where, when you excavate, is that taken away somewhere?
well, when we excavate it, that, we're not gonna really touch their ramp.
okay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we.
But that was
we
part of
can
your
draw the detail.
redistribution of material.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my.
A little bit here, a little bit there.
It'll all work.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought the idea was to maybe do some excavation, but use that material to fill in some of the void to fill in some of what's washed out.
Yeah, well, we don't want so the idea is not to touch the water, the blue part there.
Right.
That's the goal. I mean, they could have put a culvert in there and just forget about a bridge,
Right.
just,
Yeah.
Build it
fill
back
the
up,
soil.
level it off. Yeah.
The problem with that is that, it would cost a minimum of $80,000 for the concrete culvert. We already got that price, so that we took that out of the mix immediately.
Yeah.
That was back in February. And secondly, that's why we have a washout, because there used to be a pipe there. It was too small. It was, was it
Okay.
3-foot pipe or something? And that's what clogged up and during the hurricane blew out the whole area.
Yeah.
So Todd was quite insistent that he wanted to avoid anything that, but there's 4 beaver dams in this area, by the way.
Yeah.
So we wanted to minimize the chance of another washout. So the easiest way to do that is to not put anything in there.
Yeah.
So the spoils get removed somewhere nearby.
Well, if you go back to that, so the dark brown in the upper left-hand part there, where it says spoils from bridge,
Right.
within right of way, that's
Right-of-way,
that's
okay.
where we're gonna push
I see.
we call the spoils the excavated material.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes it really clear now. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
And the steel is
So
all
that-
brought in one big piece?
it'll be 3 I-beams essentially, yeah.
You had them on a slide, I think.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
There.
there we go.
I was
So
gonna say, I know I
there's
saw it.
steel beams, yeah, and they're about 33 feet long. And they have the cross bracing that's structurally needed, and then so we'll get probably a backhoe or something to lift those into place for us. So they each weigh about 1,000 pounds, so, yeah.
So will the spoils make a little hill along the side or no? it'll be-
You'll hardly notice it.
Okay, yeah.
Not to worry.
I like a little hill. I like that, yeah.
Yeah,
In fact, I like that.
we've got 16 feet, which we didn't know in February.
Yeah.
We just found out we have 16 feet either side of the embankment because of that little bump out that we discovered when we got the actual survey map.
Yeah.
So 16 feet of extra material, we can
Spread it for the.
lose a lot of fill over there.
Yeah, I'm very interested in how that right of way was built originally back in the day before big machinery.
Yeah,
And I've been trying to find information on it. I've been, going to the library, trying to get books, but I can't find it anywhere except for building trestle bridges. Everyone wants to talk about trestle bridges. I want to talk about excavating, building up, putting culverts in. And we've got culverts in that trail that have been there forever and are still doing a very good job. And they were done before big machinery. How did they do it? And I can't find that. Is there any history of engineering that I'm missing?
I'm sure there is, but I have never studied that, like before steam shovels and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hand digging. I mean,
Yeah,
the Erie Canal was
200 years ago.
a
yeah.
lot of hand labor.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I have a question and it's about budget. You brought up the fact that we said a culvert would not work, too expensive. Has part of the work that you've been doing involved cost estimates for these materials and so on?
Yeah, so we had part of the team working on budgeting, and we have like access to essentially like an Excel sheet where she like kind of listed everything that was on there. I could like get that to you so you could share it with everyone in the group. That's on me for not putting it here already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you give us any ballpark figures? 80,000 was too much. for us, so.
So we have as part of this class, we have a budget to do projects. We can't do the whole project. We have about $15,000, a little less than that actually, that we can throw at this project.
Wow.
So that's going to probably take care of the foundations and the steel and some of the wood.
Wow.
Okay, so we'll get a good piece of it there. It won't cover all of the wood and it won't cover the surfacing of the trail. And Todd is, in communication with, I know with you, Alice, about some possible grants and requests with, the usual suspects, as we call them, to see if we can make that happen. So I think there's a reasonably good hope that we could do this project without too many big requests out there. I mean, I'm guessing $40,000 would probably take care of it.
Yeah. To a 40,000 in addition to the 15,000 that you.
No, total.
Oh, total.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's just I don't know, it's a sort of a wild ass guess at this point, but
To use a technical term.
It's not, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near 80,000 to do this bridge.
So Cornell is taking in money? Did I get that
Well,
right?
it was raised.
It was raised, okay.
Yeah, it was raised for student engineering projects.
Okay.
It's not Cornell putting the money in, it's some of the rest of us who went to people and got them to generously give alumni and such to
But it makes so much
create a
sense
fund.
because you have a practical experience for your students. Hands-on real life experience, and it results in a community asset.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
the goal.
a wonderful way of using donations. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we, just for folks to recall, we did talk about requesting some funding for this particular project from the Triad Foundation, which has given us grants in the past and has invited us to reapply. And so when we know what a budget is and when we have these plans, we'll go back to that foundation and ask if they can help us close this gap. So any additional questions?
Does NICEAG put in any little bit to this? Because eventually it will benefit them that the area is cleaned up.
We just want our terms of agreement that we negotiated with them, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, just allows us to, it is set up in such a way that we notify them if we want to do something, and they don't actually have a requirement in their agreement that they have to approve what we do. But as Max said, they can, under that agreement, tear it out if they don't like it. Right now, I think step one is to ask is to say, we're notifying you and we hope to get your feedback and it's positive. But it would be great if NICEAG would be interested in contributing a little towards this, because you're right, it will benefit those trucks that are going in there to maintain the lights that we saw.
Yeah, their power line goes actually perpendicular to the trail. And they have access already from Pinckney Road on the rail trail. So I don't know if we could build a very strong case that this would benefit them, but if they had anything on the other portion of the trail, between this bridge and Freeville, well, that would be a benefit.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the benefit of community goodwill. Which we
Nice things.
could-
No, that's really nice things purpose. or
Right,
Focus. They don't seem to be a community goodwill company, unlike REI, which is.
Does anyone
try.
want to see any of the other slides before we take them down and let folks see one another as we continue to talk?
I can kind of scroll through from top to bottom in case anyone forgot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be good.
Once activated, it thinks that we can just wake up.
I've got a question about the distance from the current top surface of the trail down to the approximate location of the decking. About how many feet drop are we talking about?
From the top of the embankment to the bridge, to the top of the bridge surface?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about, we're talking about 5 feet.
Oh, that's not much at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the water would be another 11 feet below that.
Easily, yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I have a couple questions and thanks everyone. This presentation is phenomenal and I really appreciate your work, Charlie, and your team. How much can the town contribute in terms of our equipment and DPW services? And does that figure into the 40,000 or is that in addition?
Oh, well, I guess I was thinking of again, don't quote the 40,000, it's just sort of a.
Yeah, I understand, sure.
Ballpark number. And I guess that would be assuming that Public Works would be able to do move the soil for us, create the ramp down to the bridge itself. And we've been in pretty close communication with Rick and Mike Hall, been out there a number of times and with Ray Berger to look at things first with the snow that you see here, and then later when the snow was gone. And they've been super helpful, just great people to work with. And so I'm not really anticipating, Dan, that there would be a whole lot of trouble. We just need to schedule it, and I would like to be there, so I'd like to do it either we really need to get that permit from DEC over the summer. And then when I get back here in the fall, which will be very early October, I would hope that we could take a week and do the earthwork then. That would be the best scenario.
Okay, and so that permit process is something that your team's managing, or is Ray or Rick assisting with that?
Yeah, okay, good question. So the permit process right now is a combination of Alice and Todd, I would say, are driving it in very close communication with Ray. And our team at Cornell is providing some of the mapping and cross sections and construction descriptions, so that in that permit application, those people, Alice and Todd and Ray, can put together a plan that will convince DEC that we know what we're doing and we're not going to harm the wetland. That's our goal.
Right.
So,
All right, so we'll manage that through our project management team, I imagine, then, right, Alice?
yes.
Sure. Okay.
After the project management team, we had an additional meeting, and Ray has a contact with the Cortland DEC and identified the correct permit to use. And from our point of view, the student group will help us populate part of that permit application, and then we'll work with DPW and others to finish and submit that application. And as you're hearing, we want to do that as soon as possible so that we can get the permission back and get that construction going in the fall.
And have we moved that fiber already, or do we need to put that request in?
So we are in good shape, Dan, with that. We had the Syracuse Utilities come out and mark the location of the fiber for us, the depth and the location. And the permission for a 1 in 12 slope was recently granted instead of a 1 in 20 slope for this one section right in here. And that's a huge deal because that means that we don't impinge on, none of the excavations will get close to the fiber cable. So we don't need to move it. And that would be a big expense if we had to move that cable.
There's a slide that shows
Yeah,
that.
the cross section. That
There
one
it
right
is.
there. So the fiber optic cable, which is the dashed line, it goes 8 feet below the water surface, and then it kind of comes up to about 2.5 or 3 feet for most of the trail. And
Yeah.
with that 1 in 12 slope that you see on either side of the bridge, we don't hit the cable. So that's
Good.
that was a good stroke of luck when we found that out.
And will this be an original design, or is there any, I know you mentioned the bridge at Flat Rock, which by the way, I think looks fantastic. I drive by there and I think that really has a nice feel to it, fits the community. Is this I mean, in terms of design, or is there another bridge that's more specifically like this bridge somewhere?
This is a one of a kind, Dan.
That, I love it.
We
That's
are custom
this-
designing this for this site and this situation. We are taking elements from various other designs. Like, for example, there's a rail trail bridge right off of Game Farm Road. Okay, it's what, about 100 yards or so, less than that, from Game Farm Road. And that has the 2x6 deck with a membrane and then probably 3 inches of stone dust, as it's called, on top of that. So we're gonna use that same concept with this bridge. The side rails we'll probably steal from the Flat Rock Bridge if you all like that, if that's what you want to do. And the foundations, we are we're just taking that from scratch. You know, we're doing what we've researched, what we need to do, and those are our own design.
Fantastic.
Does that take care of your question there?
It sure does. I think I love the idea of a unique bridge for a unique trail. And I think this is a great,
You got it.
great thing for Cornell and Dryden to partner on. And I love the story. It's going to look good for everyone.
Yeah, good. Okay, if those are your questions, Dan, I'll do one more call for questions from either our in-person or our Zoom family group. No, okay, let's take those down. And at this point, I'm gonna unshare this. Here. Good.
Looking for it.
Now we can
I don't have a great.
see a little bit better who's with us. But,
to stay for the 13 original.
Good.
Well, probably help.
Before you go, just want to say thank you so much for this. The slides really helped me to understand what you're working on, and that was very clear. Thank you.
How big is the
Yes.
class?
Like 10 or 9 students.
The 10 students. Yeah.
Are you one of the people that does exemplar?
I do not look.
Anything else for Max before he heads out?
He'll stay. for
I'll stay
the-
for
Oh, you'll stay as well.
Just for the
Okay.
13 bridge, yeah.
Good. All right. Well, I am going to close these and share our agenda. As I said before, you got here, Dan, there are 3 people who are traveling right now and unable to be with us. And one of them is our secretary, Rose. And usually she brings copies of the agenda. But she is unable to be with us. So I'm just going to put the agenda up kind of quickly, so folks can see what else we have going on here. We're going to approve the February minutes, and then we'll do reports from the Project Management Committee, the Outreach Committee, Trail Stewards and Volunteers Committee. We'll talk about funding for Phase 3. A quick rundown on community events and reviewing the roles of task force officers. So still a full agenda for tonight. Any
I also
questions?
have a quick report on my communications with the community with CCT.
That's great. Thank you. That kind of dropped off from a previous agenda. Really glad you brought that up, Judy. Good. So before we move forward, we do need to get approval from voting members of the task force for our February minutes. They went out, I think, twice. Any corrections or additions to those
I'm
minutes?
embarrassed to ask. What happened in March minutes?
We did not have a meeting in March.
I thought I forgot the meeting.
Oh,
There
no.
was no meeting.
It was canceled at the last minute. We had.
I spaced it out completely. All right, that's what happened.
I was really just too sick to run it, and we just decided, I ran it by the project management team, and they said, you know, we hardly ever cancel a meeting, and so we did. So that's why we're going back to the February minutes. So people should have received them back then, and then I just sent them again. And any additions or edits or changes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the February minutes?
Sure.
From Sue and Steve?
Second.
Sue moves and Steve seconds. All in favor of approving the February minutes, please raise your hand. Okay, looks like everybody, good deal. All right. I'm going to take these minutes down now. Hopefully everybody received the revised minutes from me over the weekend. So we'll kind of follow those. Stop the share. And we'll go to the Project Management Committee report. And Dan, do you want to take on the Route 13 Bridge RFP announcement and next steps, please?
So we have a press release that it doesn't look like it went out today, unless you saw it go out, Alice. I'm not seeing an indication that it's on our website. But we have an announcement that the RFP is out and that we're requesting bids from contractors to construct the project, the 3-point-something million bridge. We'll see what they suggest it cost. Hopefully we'll get a low bidder who's also great. And this thing will come in on budget and ahead of schedule. But that's a big milestone to have that clear from New York State Department of Transportation and to be able to put out the news to the community. The press release is fairly long, so it's a good review of the project and the various components that go into it. And I'm hoping we get some press calls once that goes live. I had sent it to our staff this morning, but I think there was some confusion on who was supposed to send it out. So it doesn't look like it got sent out while I was busy teaching today. Alice, do you know better? Did it go out?
Well, normally press releases go through the clerk. Bambi and her staff are usually the ones who do the media list. So it went to Cassie, the supervisor's secretary. And I just happened to check with the clerk and they didn't have it. So, and then there also, thanks to Diane, we had a picture to accompany, a visualization of the Route 13 bridge to accompany the press release, which we talked about in myriad emails going back and forth about what should go in. And that had not been received. by Cassie or the clerk, so I sent it to them. And they had everything that they needed in the clerk's office to do that media release by mid-afternoon, I think. So I'm guessing it'll probably be tomorrow morning before it.
Oh, okay.
Because I did not get a confirmation that they sent it. But according to the clerk, the protocol is that these kinds of releases go through the clerk's office, and then if there's a website posting, they send it to Cassie.
Well,
right?
that's one way. I've sent them out myself, so we've done it a number of ways. And Cassie, I think could do that, but she worked with the clerk instead today. That's news to me. We all have a list, and I hope that that the attachment then perhaps we should have mentioned that in the actual press release that there is an attachment. I didn't realize that, so I think there was some
that was in the
there.
email
Yeah.
exchanges.
But anyway, it's a hell of the actual text of the press release is a product only 5 people could produce, written by committee, but it's good. And it tells the story of the project, and we're all pretty happy about that. So the next step will be May 8th when we open the bids and review them and see what we got. There is interest. Ray has indicated Ray as our planning director has indicated he's already had inquiries about it. So I think that's a good sign. And so we can go ahead and get this project started. And, we have initial funding to do the work. And, it's just a matter of selecting the best contractor. Another thing that I did, and I just want to share with this committee, I did fill out a grant application for Assembly woman Kellis's opportunity to fund projects. And so there's a long shot opportunity that we may get funding through the New York State budget. Never hurts to ask. I think she loves this project, and I think she'd love to be supportive of it, but I had to crunch over a short time frame to put together all the details that her office and the Assembly committees needed to review this project. But we should know soon, because the state budget is overdue, and it could be done any day now.
And that would help us make up the gap between what we've raised already in the $3 million range and whatever the bids come in at on May 8th. So thank you for that extra work.
I went for $500,000. Why not? We're worth it.
Yep, great. And also the town of Dryden has voted in March to bond for this project, which means issue municipal bonds, which will help the town with the cash flow of having the funds available to start this construction. And this schedule has the potential for allowing us to get this bridge going in this calendar year. At least the wing walls and possibly the bridge structure that will come in if it can be ordered quickly enough. So the town does have permission now to do that bond. And some people may remember that when the town bonds for money, there's a 30-day period during which people might petition to challenge that way of spending money, and that period is over. And so no one challenged the town on this bonding. So it's all everything has the go ahead at the moment, and we're optimistic that this bridge may even be ready by the end of the calendar year. So any other questions about this news from Dan and others? Okay, great. And then another item that comes out of the project management committee is that we are ready to go ahead with a planning study of what we're calling phase 3, which is east of Pinckney Road all the way to Johnson Road in Freeville. And you might recall that the Tompkins County Ithaca Transit Committee. I might not have that acronym quite right, but anyway, we got a almost $10,000 grant from the county to study alternatives for alternative routes for the last phase to complete the bridge. And as of the last project management committee, we authorized the planning director to go ahead and get that going. So you'll be hearing things from us as Erdman Anthony begins to do the work on looking at alternative routes to help us work around or go through those sections of the trail for which we still need easements. We have 4 property owners and 6 easements yet to achieve between Pinckney Road and Freeville. So Erdman Anthony is the engineer who's doing the Route 13 bridge for us, and they gave us a very good price on a study of the next phase of the construction. So any other questions about that from
You're
project
not gonna go around the washout, are you?
We promise we will not go around. No, there's no going around easements and use agreements that we already have.
Isn't the was Leonardo property is directly to the east of that washout?
Correct, yes.
So you need that easement to make the bridge make any sense.
Right, and I don't know whether I said anything about this in this agenda. No, and there is a little bit of news about the easement for the missing easement for the next property. Ray Berger has been in touch with one of the 2 owners of that. They're co-owners of that Leonardo property that's just passed us. The uncle has passed away. The niece has started meeting on a regular basis with our planning director to talk about developing her whole parcel. And we are making it clear that the town would be very happy to help with that development. And
I didn't get that. Can
What?
you try again?
What was that?
It's just someone's phone.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's-
Okay, that we're making it clear that the town would be happy to help with that development and will, and that we are seeking that
Easement.
easement. The remaining owner is in court with her uncle's estate to determine who owns what. She wishes to acquire her uncle's half. But until that's adjudicated by the courts, she is unable to give us that easement. But the fact that the contact has been made and that she's met with our planning director, in fact, even also met with a rep from Ithaca Neighborhood Housing Services, and we're recommending that they would be a good potential partner to develop that for some mixed use and including low income housing on the section away from closer to Route 13 from the wetland area along the creek. So it could be a win-win, but we're subject to court decisions on ownership. Did that answer?
I think going ahead with this washout bridge suggests that it's gonna work. We're gonna get the Leonardo property sooner or later.
Yeah, that's right.
And should we wait until we get that done before we start the bridge?
Well,
No.
the thing about this site is that you have to get across the washout area to get to solid land that you could even go, have a diversion. That wetland goes all the way basically from almost route, well, it goes north-south, and you gotta get over it before you can go around and do some other machinations with property owners, so.
Where is this Leonardo property? I'm not familiar, you know.
It's just right past the area that we've been talking about. It's the
It's just
next
west
easement
east.
along the trail that we.
Between
are
there and 366?
Correct,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
So that's not all inclusive trail at the moment?
We do not own easements.
Oh, okay.
East.
Because I've walked that plenty of
Yeah.
times. I mean, I haven't been shot at or anything.
Yeah. They're out of town owners.
Okay.
The owner lives in, Florida and also I think Washington DC.
Okay.
And, has been wanting to develop the property for some time, but isn't present there.
Okay.
And, we don't have any indication that they mind people walking, but we're certainly not gonna open it up to the public
Well,
until.
because there is a sign there on a tree that says it is the Dryden Rail Trail at 366.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I'll
Yes.
actually
Okay.
add,
Chris, do you wanna talk about that?
yeah, I'll actually add a note that we do have additional signage to be placed um, west of Route 366 at the boundary between the Leonardo parcel and the parcel that we actually do have an easement for. We have an easement going from 366 in, it's maybe like, I want to say it's like 0.6 or 0.7 miles or something like that.
Okay.
And so we will be putting up signage there just to say, trail ends here.
Okay.
But
For the washout.
there won't be a big fence or anything like that. It's just
Yeah, okay.
a sign that will inform people that if you go beyond that point, you're no longer on an official section of the trail.
And the Leonardo easement is the only one we need in
Okay.
that section.
Okay.
So from that spot that we were seeing at the end of the washout to the spot that Chris was describing coming in from the other direction, it's all Leonardo property and we're in negotiations.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I guess, without the backstory and being new in town, I assumed that the washout was the only thing stopping me from going from A to B in that section.
yeah. Well, we were out of communication for about 2 years with
Yeah.
the Leonardos and we're back in communication with them on a regular basis. So that's very hopeful. But
All right, yeah.
with the way the courts are these days, we don't know how long it will take her and her uncle's estate to determine ownership. But as soon as that's in place, she seems eager to work with us. So that's,
So when you say she wants to develop it, does that mean she wants to sell it, I guess, right?
she wants to potentially sell it, but she also may be the developer. For example, one scenario that she's working with our planning director on is partnering as the developer with Ithaca Neighborhood Housing to do a range of housing offerings, including some affordable housing, but also it could be retail space in there as well. It could be given access off Route 13.
Right.
It's desirable property. I think it might be as much as 70 acres. I can't remember what the total number is, but that's sort of in my head. So hopeful news on that. Gwen.
Alice, if I'm remembering this right, wasn't Mr. Leonardo, her uncle, in favor of the trail?
The uncle was in favor of the trail.
So
And
I'm just wondering if, as they go through the paperwork and settle the estate, I wonder if he may have put a provision in there for that.
well, I can certainly talk to Ray about that and look back through Bob's records. But the good news is that the niece was unresponsive.
Yeah.
Regarding the trail, because I think her interest was more the development part. But now that she's working with our planning director and he is putting forward the trail, it no longer matters so much what the uncle said because she's driving the negotiations with the town at the moment. And she's generally favorable to the trail. Chris, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean that's all historical, but yes, basically her uncle was ready to, or actually did. I thought her uncle did sign an easement. Her father was going to, but then she dissuaded him from getting in, officially signing over an easement, and then there were deaths in the family and there were disputes over ownership, and now it's, like Alice has described, it's tied up in the courts.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to just wait that out. But it is great news that she is in communication with Ray Berger.
Yeah.
And took the time to meet with a potential developer with our planning director and has agreed to meet with him monthly.
Wow.
So all good signs for getting that section. It really would be terrific if we had that in this year so that we have yet another road terminus for the project. So to be continued on that one.
We're gonna,
Okay, thanks again. Thanks
Yeah,
so
thank you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you. You guys are great.
Great. So next on our agenda is I'm calling it the Outreach Community Committee. Is Diane with us?
She just, that's her hand right there.
Hi.
We were calling it Design and Communication and many other names, but it seems like outreach is what you end up helping us to do through all kinds of media, Diane.
Outreach and communication.
Outreach and communication. Yes. So anything new since you last reported to us in February?
So the only new thing is that I did hear back from Cornell Print Shop, and they, of the 3 people I sent price quotes to, they're the only ones that responded, and they were the ones I didn't think could do it. So I just said, are you able to print? Like, can you print on Dibond? And they said no. And I said, okay, well, do you print exterior signs? Is there anything you can print on? And so then they wrote back to me, and a different person wrote back, says, we can print on Dibond. So tonight or tomorrow, I'll send them the same specs I sent everyone else. And I think they may end up being the vendor we go with. So
Remind us what those quotes are, which signs those are quotes for.
So these would be quotes for the new and improved welcome signs that will go on the new sections of trail. I'm assuming we're not going to replace all the welcome signs throughout the trail. And it is what we're calling the etiquette signs. Please stay on trails, those ones. I'm going to ask, I think there's like 7 etiquette signs. I'm going to ask for quotes for, say, 1 versus 5 sets, just to get a sense of, like what price range we're looking at. And also, I don't have it here because I'm on Chris's computer, but I can send this to Rose to include in the minutes. But I made the signs a little bit different because I printed them out and taped them to our stove hood and then walked to the front door. And they were hard to read. So I made the font a little bigger so it would really take up more of the sign. And so I'll send those out for review.
Great.
There's the one on Stevenson Road is missing, and the one on Pleasant Hill has been missing for a long time.
What one?
The welcome signs.
So the ones that we installed are gone.
They're gone, yeah, and that's the second
Okay.
time the Stevenson Road one has disappeared.
Wait,
The
you're
other-
kidding me. You mean the one that enters the trail right opposite the compost road?
Yeah. Yep.
How do people steal these things? Do they yank the pipe out of the ground?
Yeah.
Well, even worse, and I'm hoping that DPW knows something about this. The quarter-mile sign and the half-mile markers are gone.
Really?
The quarter-mile and the
compost-
half-mile markers are gone.
From the compost section?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wait. I saw the half-mile one. It's on the
Okay.
fence.
Maybe I missed that one, yeah. I was looking for it where I thought it should be, and I might have missed that one. But the
Is it-
quarter-mile, I know is gone.
It might be, I'm wondering, since that whole stretch of Compost Road, if I'm not mistaken in the alignment, that's actually all owned by the game farm, correct?
Yeah, there
one-
was minimal
One
signs
side is
there.
Cornell, the other side is Game
Right.
Farm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that there have been issues in the past with, anything that's affiliated with the Dryden Rail Trail going missing.
Yeah,
It was placed on their property without permission. So it's entirely possible that the game farm has those welcome signs,
okay,
that they removed them.
okay.
Oh,
Oh,
all right. So,
Interesting.
Chris, are you saying that Evan Will is, I think, still our contact at the
Zero.
game farm? And are you saying it's might be worth it for me to call him and say, hey, do you know, do you know where our welcome signs are?
Yeah,
Is it, okay, all right.
That'd be my first approach, because I know that they've removed some, you know,
and that's between game
other
farm.
signage of ours in the past. So
Okay.
This isn't there
Well,
anymore?
this might be a good time to revisit the MOA and see what language we spelled out on that. I seem to remember some language to that regard. So I have the MOA somewhere in my files. I was just looking for it while we were talking. But I think we addressed that. And if we're not following it, that's on us. If they're just disappearing, that's on them. If they're not supposed to do that.
So Dan, maybe we should consult that project management team before I make a contact to make sure that we understand what's in the memo of understanding with DEC game farm folks. Is that what you're saying?
Could that also be the quarter mile marker problem? What happened with that was, I walked that maybe 3 weeks ago, and I saw the quarter mile marker was torn out of the ground and it was propped up in a tree. The next time I went through, it was gone.
Okay.
And the half mile, like I say, I might have missed that one because it's hard to
I don't know
spot
if
that
I was
one.
either one of those from back in February.
Yeah.
The first one I have is the 0.75,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of truck traffic on that compost road, which we share with the rail trail. I'm wondering if could just be a casualty of
Yeah,
that.
the half mile one, yes. The quarter
Yeah.
mile's between Game Farm and Stevenson.
Okay. Okay,
It's close to
let's bring
Stevenson.
that up at project management and just understand the MOU and then get back to the game farm folks to find out if we
And
can.
DPW, because if it got torn out, but they have it somewhere, then that's different than. It looked like the post was twisted, like it had been an accident of some kind or something.
Okay.
Maybe even DPW, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so it could be
Yeah,
just
this is not pleasant.
truck traffic, it could be TPW, it could be
Which direction?
game farm folks. So
Plow, well,
could be.
plowing always
South
takes
side.
down things.
Yeah,
like
north side.
that.
It has been for.
Okay.
The only other thing I want to check in on with everybody else is, do you know if maybe you've already talked about this, but has the press release gone out yet today?
We were talking about it while you were gone. There was
Right.
some confusion about protocols for who sends it out. It started I believe it'll be out tomorrow morning, and it will include the picture that you wanted to accompany it, which I think was really a great addition.
Okay, and did Dryden get into there for your title, Dan?
Did
I
Dryden?
sent-
I'm sorry.
I sent a revised version to Dan this
That was
morning.
the version.
It had Dryden Rail Trail in your title, Alice, rather than just Chair Rail Trail Task Force.
But your final version is the one, I believe, that Dan sent to the supervisor secretary.
Yeah, I didn't see a version 4. I mean, a version 5. I sent.
I didn't call
version
it- I did-
4.
Yeah, I didn't call it version 4.
V4. Yeah, so.
Called it 4. All right, anyways. So my question was, I want to post it on our website and also on Facebook, but I want to make sure it's gone out before I do. So,
Yeah, we don't have the letterhead on it yet. That was the step I wanted Cassie to do.
So can you just let me know when she sent it out, just so that I don't, like, I kind of feel
Yeah, I
like
think-
it's embargoed until she sends it out. I don't want to.
Yeah, indeed. It should go on the town website first thing tomorrow, and
then we could share that link.
Okay, all right, that sounds
Yeah.
good. I'll try to remember to check that in the morning
Okay,
for a noon time.
good.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Diane, for getting those quotes on that and for helping so much on that press release.
Sure.
It's great.
And I'll share the quotes when I get them back.
Good. Any other questions about signage or outreach? Okay, moving on. Anything from the Trail Stewards and Volunteers Committee?
So we have not had an opportunity to meet since we last met. But what I would like to share, if I may, briefly, is just a mock-up of what will look like something of what we may be able to share to reach out to the community, to invite people to become rail trail stewards. So if I may share, I'll put this up on the screen. I think I have to.
If you can't, I'll make you a co-host.
I have to send you a request.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, now I go to share and I'll grab this one, share. So this is sort of in concept of a square image that can be shared to Instagram and Facebook.
I think you asked one.
Nice.
And I think that the email address may be slightly different. It'll probably be, I think it's drtstewards@gmail.com. And, but this is, in essence, an attractive concept of something that we can post in social media. And then in the comments, we can have more detailed information about it that may expand beyond just those bullets. But this is something to sort of catch people's attention, to click on a social media post like this and engage with it if interested. And it's easy to share. For people to for them to share in their social media to sort of spread the word. So.
Chris, thank you so much, and Diane for putting that together. That looks really inviting.
Chris, is that a real background or a virtual background?
Let's
Is it
see.
what?
What was a real background or a what?
Virtual. You've got a purple halo behind you.
Oh, me here. That's real. That's a real background.
But it's not happening
But it's
now.
not happening right now.
Oh my God.
That's great. Okay, questions for Chris about where we are with Trail Stewards. When we get our final package, we want to post it on the listserv and Facebook, et cetera, invite people to help us maintain the trail. We've divided it into a number of different kind of logical sections. And so people will be invited to be part of the group that helps maintain and keep the public excited about that section.
So basically, we're ready to post now, right? Because
Looks like it's almost ready to
because
post.
we worked
Yeah.
out the language last time.
We just have to define those exciting tasks.
I think we did that, didn't we?
We have them, but I think we wanted to tighten them up.
Turn them a little, yeah.
Yep.
So we've.
So excited about them.
Great. Anything else about that project? Questions, comments? Great job. Good. All right, let's move to, oh yeah, I did actually have funding for phase 3 and a report on using Bike Walk Tompkins website for trail donations. So Judy, you were on the agenda.
Oh, okay. You want me to go now? Finally heard back from Nikki of Bike Walk Tompkins, whose email had not gone out to me. And so there was some technical glitch for a long time, but we got back together. And she said that their board voted on, or she said at this time, because of structural changes in the institution, in the organization of Center for Community transportation, they don't want to take on hosting our donations. But when they get things under control and reorganized, they're interested in revisiting it at the end of this year or the beginning of next. So that's like 9 months. So in the meantime, I mean, I don't know exactly how people find out how to donate. And if we have any, I mean, we could continue to have people just donate through the supervisor's office, you know, to the town of Dryden. But maybe we should have something on our website or on our website or on Facebook that just directs them in some way, telling them how to donate for a bench or otherwise.
Okay.
I didn't see anything. I mean, I looked, if I wanted to donate, how would I do it? And I didn't see anything. So if we can just direct them in some way, we could continue with the supervisor's office.
Good, yeah. The town website has been revamped and I haven't actually gone through it to see how it describes the possibility of donating. Chris?
Oh, the town website, it might be there. On our website, it's not there.
So I
It's
thought
not
it
on
was,
Dryden Rail Trail. I see, okay.
yeah, I just thought that municipalities can't solicit funding. And so that's why nothing would be on the town website, and we have to be a little cognizant of how we do that in social media. You know, originally we wanted to have the Friends of Dryden Rail Trail Facebook page, which is separate from the town, and so they could solicit and, you know, sort of accept and funnel, you know, donations. But the way the Facebook page is set up now, it seems it's a little, I mean, it's the official, you know, Town of Dryden Rail Trail Facebook page. And so soliciting donations through that is questionable. However,
So I guess the question is,
Problem in the beginning. That was the problem in the beginning.
right.
well, so the question then is, we currently have a Facebook page, drydenrailtrail.org. I'm not a Facebook, a website.
Right.
You want that website to not be more of an official page, but more of a supporter page?
No, I actually thought, I didn't understand that our website is the official Town of Dryden's website for the rail trail. So no, I don't think we need another website. I don't know though how to.
But we do have two websites, Judy, because we have the Dryden Rail Trail page on the town website, which is really the official site. And then we have the drydenrailtrail.org site, which is more of a public
facing.
So that one could be considered a supporter page if there was somebody else technically involved in maintaining it besides the board member.
Right.
Or task force member.
That's the whole thing that we had to avoid in the first place. All right. So let's think about how we can direct people to where, you know, to the current way of donating without, you know, at least for 9 months.
Good, okay.
I think that it will go through in 9 months, but they just, you know, couldn't handle another aspect, I guess, at the moment.
Okay, so just a quick review on the Dryden Rail Trail Task Force never formed a not-for-profit organization. We've taken donations made directly out to the town, and the town supplies a letter acknowledging the gift, which folks can bring to their accounts if they wish to try to claim a tax exempt status for their donation.
I'll get in touch with Linda and see if she wants to try to be a solicitor for us.
Oh, okay.
That'd be great.
All right, yeah, we did, and just as a further review, we did have a group called Friends of the Dryden Rail Trail that was headed by folks that were not members of the task force, because by law, entities that collect taxes cannot then solicit more money from donors. So it takes an outside friends group to do that. That some of the folks that oversaw that, the Friends of the Dryden Rail Trail website became no longer supporters. We changed the name of our website. We got a new website, no longer the Friends of the Dryden Rail Trail, but for simplicity, we called it the Town of Dryden Rail Trail site. And it's just coming through to me now that when we did that, we made it sound a little bit more official and less like an outside
Well,
fundraiser.
it is partly because we're mostly it's mostly run by board members, right? I mean, task force members.
Yeah, so having someone who could head up fundraising solicitations would be really helpful. So if Linda's interested in that, that would be great.
I mean,
And I think that having our Facebook page be an official Facebook page is a good thing to do. So I don't think we would want that to become more of a friends of. I think that's good to have that as an official site so that anything coming from there is, blessed by the task force. But, if somebody wanted to create a donation page that both the Facebook page and our website could link to, that would be fine too. If somebody who was involved in wanting to collect money for us could do that. I think that.
I'm thinking that she was, Linda Levine was the one who suggested originally that we try to do it through the Center for Community Transportation. And I'm just going to ask her initially if she just wants to spread the word that, people can do it through the town board. I mean, through the town.
And let's talk more then, let's talk more at the project management committee meeting about the structure of our websites and fundraising.
Okay.
Good. Thank you a lot for following up on the possibility of being able to have donations hosted by Bike Walk Tompkins.
I think we can do it later. I mean, if we still want money in 9 months.
Okay, great. Thank you. We're getting close to the end of our time, but I want to just hear about the visit to REI and what you learned, Sue.
And go ahead. Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's 2 levels of funding at REI. There's much more about all this than we do. And the lower level is pretty much driven by the people employed in the town, which is great. The higher level would require us to be a nonprofit.
Oh, okay.
So here we go back again. Yeah. So there might be an advantage to not to do the nonprofit, to do the donations through them, but to go ahead and partner with them to get the nonprofit status so that we can apply for the REI grant.
Okay. Oh, that's actually really helpful to know.
The partner, yeah, that is a possibility, to be associated in a formal way with the Center for Community Transportation, so that we are a member of their nonprofit.
Right.
That sounds like a good idea, actually.
Yeah. Yep.
So going back to REI's policy on that, if you're a nonprofit, the way it's working now, because we're currently voting, so you would have to get in the next week. So it's not gonna happen now.
Right.
But the way it works for that level, for the REI corporate level, the employees of the store still vote on the organizations that were submitted. And there was plenty of other organizations who came forward and then said, oh yeah, we're also not non-for-profits.
Yeah.
So they were just like, okay, sorry. But essentially REI has the option of either choosing 1 or 2. It's unclear, like if we can't come to a decision, like let's support 1, they just say, well, we'll pick 2. But essentially the pot of money is $10,000 for a 2-year period.
At 10,000 a year.
10,000 a year for a 2-year period.
Wow.
And so currently, because it's split between Bike Walk Tompkins and Prime Pursuits, they each got 5, but
Yeah.
the period is a 2-year period and it's fixed. So since our store opened last year, we came in midway through the cycle, which is why they're now doing it now. So whoever gets voted in this time lasts for the next 2 years.
But in order to get voted in, you have to.
You have to
be.
be, yeah.
And
Okay.
we can't do that that
Right.
quickly.
All right.
So like, if Bike Walk and Primitive Pursuits don't get chosen again, if we go with other organizations, because the store came in midway through the corporate cycle, they kind of got, sorry, we only got you for a year, but you know.
Okay, I see. So even though the corporate cycle is 2 years, the local recipients are just for 1 year and they'll
Because we
reopen it.
came because our store happened to open midway through a cycle.
So,
But REI is, you know, because they're committed to the community and things like that, like if we said, hey, we're gonna do a cleanup or other things, like they're more than like willing to like say, oh, well, we'll promote it, or maybe we'll, you know, have volunteers with employees or this or that. So it's not like they're like, sorry, you're on your own for 2 years. You know, there's other options, but for big chunks of change, probably not.
good.
They're-
So
they're-
3 of you
they're
went
also-
together to.
I gotta be working that day.
It's on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Which was helpful.
One more question. Is an entity, once they're nonprofit, eligible to apply a second time if they've already won a grant?
Yes. And so like Bike Walk and Primitive Pursuits are in the running again.
So we would, if we became a member of Bike Walk Tompkins, I don't know that we could actually apply on our own.
Yeah, so that, like, whoever sponsors our nonprofit and how we get there, like, I'm not sure how that would work, because we would still be our own thing, not really tie in with Bike Walk. I don't know. Because Bike
Yeah.
Walk is really not its own thing either, because it's
That's
tied
true,
in.
that's
to-
true. They're part of,
you know,
yeah,
right, because it's, yeah.
Right. That's right. Good.
But REI was already supporting us. I had one dog-eared map of the trail.
Yeah, well, we
which I
made
brought.
copies, so we
And they
put,
made copies,
yeah.
they've had copies up, they've been handing copies out to people,
Yeah.
so they're already supporting.
yeah,
us.
they're
They
in
agree.
the section with all the FLT maps and everything else.
And they're also, right when you walk in the store, the DRT maps are right there.
Yeah.
And they're-
Oh,
they-
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys have made a great connection.
And I'm constantly telling people that come in and talk to them and, you know, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. So not immediately, but a
Yeah.
potential.
Yeah, and we
source
should
of
go ahead and
funding,
pursue.
And definitely community support.
And we recommend that we go ahead and pursue the nonprofit, so.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, since we just kind of realized this with REI, we've got to be a nonprofit to go for certain funding levels, but it's probably going to also apply for other grant writing as well. There's separation between being a town board organization versus a nonprofit organization, and since we don't have that nonprofit organization designation, it's been a bit of a barrier with REI, it might also be barriers for other
Others,
potential
yeah.
grants.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know what the pros and cons of that, the becoming the nonprofit and getting that designation, either as partnership
Yeah.
with Bike Walk Tompkins or on our own.
We've talked about it repeatedly over the years,
Okay.
and Bob, Beck and I both felt like it was not something that we wanted to take on.
Okay.
I
That's a
did
big-
create a nonprofit with a group in Ithaca about 25 years ago, and the reporting is onerous.
Okay.
For tax purposes, and because we're a task force, we won't exist anymore once the trail is built. And so
Okay.
because we have a mechanism for receiving donations through the town, we felt like it was more than we were ready to take on.
Okay.
And we've been pretty successful still getting grants, more than $3 million worth of grants that can be given to the town. But we're about to enter phase 3, and so I wouldn't rule it out. I know that Bob and I both had some experience creating not-for-profits and their required reporting, and
But if we join the actual existing.
but if we
not-for-profit,
joined a group that already had 501c3 status, and they would be willing to list us as one of their transportation elements,
Yes.
then that would be a different.
Yeah.
So this is a good new opportunity, and it's great to know that we could revisit it in, say, 9 months with
Okay.
Bike Walk
Yeah.
Tompkins. Yeah. Good. Anything else on that funding for phase 3 that we've been looking at, or the REI visit in particular? Okay, community events, just a quick report on how the Community Connections event went in March.
We made a new friend.
Yeah. I just want to share real quickly positive feedback, because I was overwhelmed by positive feedback. And I felt like I needed to share this with the task force, because as a very new person on the task force, I had so many Dryden community people as I was working the event, and I'd say, you know, I'm from the Dryden Rail Trail. And the first thing that all people would say to me is like, really? Thank you for all the work you do. We love the rail trail. And it felt cheesy because I hadn't done anything. So I wanted to share that with everyone who has done all this work. I mean, people from all walks of life were there. I was talking with other like vendors or organizations, was kind of making the rounds, and then other people that were approaching us at our table. And that was the first thing that everyone would say, thank you for doing, you know, all the work to get the rail trail. We love it. We go out there, you know, and we enjoy it in all different ways. And I wish that all of you who have been working on it for so long were able to hear that. So it was important to share that. And along those lines, Cleo was there from Leo Webb's office. And she said the same. She approached us, and she wanted us to know that Leo Webb is absolutely very supportive, and that her office is thanking us for doing this, and they said they're very supportive because it's the only non-controversial issue that she deals with now. And everywhere that she goes, if the Dryden Rail Trail comes up, she gets overwhelmingly positive support, and there's no controversy, which just blows their mind, because everything else is.
They're inviting us to ask for let
Yes.
them know what they can do for us.
That's great. Well,
And
I
Alice, I have her card that she
Oh,
gave me
good.
to give to you.
Yeah.
Boy, yeah.
So Leah said she'll write on letterhead, her letterhead, letters supporting any grants that we want to submit. And Leah's also very welcome, would be pleased to attend any events that we have. Just give her a couple of weeks' notice. Because she's 100% behind us, and anything she can do, we should let her know. She's happy to do that, or we let Cleo know, and she'll yeah. So I just enjoyed that, and I wanted to make sure everybody who's done the work also got to hear that.
Yay.
It was a great meeting. The map is just magnificent. The map makes all the difference in the world.
Yes, people love the map.
Because people go to it, and yeah, and it is the best way to get people talking. And to have that map.
To show that map and to
show
get
that
people
map.
thinking about where they live and how they can get somewhere
Exactly.
they want to visit
Exactly.
people.
That's the first thing
using
they
the
want to
trail.
do when they talk to you. I live right there.
Yeah, that's great. And that's thank you to Diane and Tony Brescher and Todd Bittner. We had lots of folks on our task force contributing to making sure that that new map looked that beautiful and looks so beautiful, and also has more details about crossroads and so on. Yeah, it's great. Good. So I'll segue that community event into planning for Dairy Day. I'm about to request a booth at Dairy Day, and at our May meeting, I'll be asking for volunteers to staff the Dairy Day event.
Last year, we talked about participating in the parade with our cardboard train. Do we still want to do
Yes,
that?
that's right. So we could work on.
What's
in
the date?
We may have missed the deadline for signing up for the
Parade?
parade, but I'll check online
Okay,
and see.
Oh, I
Chris,
mean
did you-
the day of the actual event, Dairy Day.
There's a parade, yes.
Well, what
what
day,
is
what's the
the
date?
Oh, what is the date of
June
Dairy?
14th?
That sounds right to me, June 14th
That's good.
this year. I included in something that I sent before. Yes, June 14th, Saturday.
It says registration is open now.
But what about the
For the
parade?
registration is open for
For
booths.
marching in the
Oh,
parade.
yeah, it says we're marching the parade. The theme is small town, big hearts, fresh milk.
That's right, I read that.
And we talked about building and making a new cardboard car, a cow car.
That's great. Well, I'll also apply for the parade.
Right, okay,
Good. And then we could work on getting some volunteers to help make a train.
Yeah.
That will be our, and we can all wear railroad caps.
and the
and-
tractor caps and, yeah.
It
we've got-
says,
I think we've got 5 cars or something like that, so we could have at least 5 people. And if we can find volunteers to help make a cow car, we can do that.
That's great. Village of Dryden tree planting near the trail crossing at Elm Street. I do not have a date for this. This is a project that the beautification group in the Village of Dryden.
Nice.
And I think they just have 2 or 3 trees that they want to plant near Elm Street where the trail crosses. And when they have a date for that planting, I'll get back to folks through our listserv to see if we have volunteers who want to help with that. I think they have the tree material and some volunteers, but they just wanted us to know in case some of our task force members wanted to join in with that. I'm going to let go of reviewing the roles of task force officers today. I'll just say quickly that I've been signing interim chair for the past 10 months. And when we just did this press release, Todd Bittner said, I think you should drop the interim. So I just did. But I do think that it would be valuable to this group. I was the vice chair, which was a task force decision about, oh, I don't know, 6 years ago when Rose started to be our secretary. That was because she took over that job for me and I became vice chair. And I getting sick and not having a backup person who could run the meeting was hard for me in March. So preview coming attractions, we'll think together about a vice chair. I'll plant that seed and we don't have to talk about that much more. But before we adjourn, I'd like to give you just a couple of minutes to talk about the tree planting. You can hear we've had a lot of things going on here, but we'd love to hear briefly.
I'm so happy I came to the meetings. I learned so much about what you've done, and it's really impressive. So, yeah, I got interested in these mini forests where you plant native species, and these are oaks and cherry and maple, and then understory species, things like spice bush and viburnums, and so all native species. You plant them very close together. Their roots begin to mingle under the ground. And they grow up fast because they're kind of competing for sunlight. And you maintain them pretty intensively for the first 2 years. And after that, they have formed a forest ecosystem and they're self-sustaining. So it's a way of restoring, it was invented to restore land that had just become degraded or derelict. But in fact, they work really well if you have a lawn or a meadow or something and you'd like to have a mini forest there. So I've worked on 2 of them, one in New Jersey and one in Ithaca. And in fact, the one in Ithaca we planted last fall. It's out by the Ithaca Brewery at a place called the Soil Factory.
Oh, that's your project. Oh, okay.
And so I'd be happy to give you a tour or, talk more about it with you.
What's the minimum amount of space?
So let's say
such linear bits.
Right.
Yeah.
The space of 2 parking.
Oh,
The area of 2 parking spaces. It doesn't have to be large. The one that we have at the soil factory is it's a circle that's 30 feet in diameter.
Okay,
So
I might have a spot for you.
Good.
I might too.
I would love to know more.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
invite me and put me on the agenda and I'll come and
Okay.
do a little presentation.
I also will say that I read about, is it Miyawaki?
Milwaukee, these are.
Yeah, I read about those, and sent some information about that to the, Sustainability Club at Dryden High School. About, I don't know, a year or so ago, and they became very interested.
Oh,
in
I'd
the
love
concept.
to talk to them.
Yeah, they decided to do a smaller pollinator garden.
Uh-huh.
They're working on this spring. But
That's
there
the
was,
gateway drug.
yeah. But the students are really interested. I don't know if at the high school you have, you have a climate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that, it'd be great. I think this is a project that would be just so wonderful for student engagement. It just,
I think every school should have a mini forest.
yes,
So-
yeah. And we do have places along the trail where we have promised to plant vegetation.
Yeah.
In particular, there's a site I've been looking at recently on the other side of Pinckney Road from the washout.
Right.
There's a concrete factory, and we have a strip of land where we've actually promised as part of our user right-of-way to do some vegetation.
To restore.
To restore, yeah. And in fact, our forester, the city forester, who's also on our conservation board, Jean Grace, went out to look at that site, and she felt like there were so many invasives there at the moment, honeysuckle and other invasives, the roses, that it wasn't a good site for her purposes the last time we were thinking about a planting, but that is still on my mind as a place that needs and a mixture of trees, a guild would be just perfect.
Yeah.
But it would be linear, because that's what we have right of way for, a lot, past Pinckney Road there. So let's it sounds like I'm seeing a lot of interest and, putting this on an agenda for a future meeting. We're in spring, we're at planting time, maybe our May meeting.
Yeah, sure.
Good,
Yeah.
thank you for coming to.
No, thank you for making this trail, which I've actually walked it with my mother-in-law, who is 90.
Oh,
And she just loves to be outdoors.
yeah,
So
it's perfect.
it's really great.
That's wonderful. Okay, well, that's a very positive note.
Yeah, well, thank
Close
you.
our agenda. Susan, you want to tell
I
us?
just want to say that the Artist Alley is doing their spring show now. So on May 3rd, from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, the market and the studios will be open. So some demonstrations, yeah, it should be good. So, and I have a new series called Early Spring, which I'm working hard on finishing.
And so for those of you who don't know, Susan makes this beautiful stained glass work that she sells in these venues as a fundraiser for the Dryden Rail Trail.
I do it because I'm addicted. And I sell it because if I don't, I get overwhelmed with all this. And I give the money to the.
That's
rail
great.
trail
So May
because of-
3rd.
May 3rd.
And the
yeah.
location again?
It's Artist Alley. It's on South Hill, the South Hill Business Campus. So it's 950 to Granby Road. Yeah, there you go.
Good. Great.
Anybody else wants to take a picture, I have right here. Yeah. So,
Thank you,
Should be good.
Susan. Thank you again for that
Yeah.
work that you do. Good. Any other final thoughts before we close the meeting? Thanks, everybody, for being here. Once again, I made an agenda for 90 minutes, but so much great conversation that we've gone a little bit over. I appreciate your patience and all your participation.
Thank
Great.
you, Alice. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
I have to leave my lights.
Before you guys go,
Oh.
borrow a white piece of paper? Another thing
Yeah, I
our
can
secretary
show you the
usually
lights,
does
but
is take attendance and I
I
didn't.
I got a couple extra headlights.
I
as
didn't
well,
get
but,
that set up, so I'm
There's
just
a
gonna,
company
oh,
called,
thank you.
I think
Just
it's
gonna get you
Bookman.
to sign
I
in
don't-
here
it
so
was
I
like
have
a-
your names.
I don't know.
Okay.
A UK company,
Yeah.
I bought it like last year. And it has like a, not like a volume control knob almost.
Good night, Gwen.
So you can do